Well,
That's what the finance officer is supposed to do. If you don't know what he's doing, then he shouldn't be in that position.
right, most squadrons do. In our squadron, we have a finance officer in training. He has limited availability, so I'm actually asking for members who have time. Doesn't require a lot of time. Super easy. If you are good with numbers and able to run a spreadsheet and reconcile the spreadsheet against that Win Grip banking system report, please talk to me. I will tell you what it takes to become a finance officer. Super simple. All you have to do is look at those reports once a month.
Pretty much just like keeping a checkbook.
Yeah, not more complicated than running your own checkbook. Keeping that balance actually much easier because we don't have that many expenses. Our expenses are hangar and this office's rent. This is one line, and internet. That's another line. That's it. This is all of our expenses. Utilities included in rent at a flat rate. We don't even bother knowing how much electricity we burn or heat used. So think about it. If you are willing to help, talk to me. Another position which remains vacant is airspace education. If you're interested, basically picking a random topic, ideally in general aviation community, but doesn't have to be. If you're interested in space exploration, in modern aviation technologies, whether it's migration from fossil fuel to hydrogen or electric powered aircraft, just you prepare, present it to the squadron, and send a report to the group once a month that we discuss this particular topic. If you have a lot more interest in going out and presenting to communities, you are more than welcome. That also gives us a credit in CAP organization. If we go out and present an airspace education topic to schools, maybe to colleges, or even to adult community groups. Maybe your HOA would be interested in hearing about aviation and possible paths, how to get career in aviation, and so on and so forth. So that is open position, and please again reach out to me. Let me know if you are interested and would like to pick it up and run with it. Another aspect of airspace education would be, working with communities. I already covered that. Okay, let's talk quickly about next week. So rest of this month will be black. We will not have meetings. Next week on Tuesday we have our holiday dinner, which is scheduled to take place at Spaghetti Factory here in Riverside. The start time is 6:30.
Cocktails at 6. We're looking at sitting down at 7.
Right, 6 o'clock for cocktails and 7 sit down for dinner. I will now bring the sign up spreadsheet which with collected data. So far we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 members signed up, and in addition to 10 members we have 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 10 guests. In addition to this, that's it. So far it's 20. Huh?
Is my name on there?
Yes.
A lot of times I forget that.
You want to add Roger Mann for 1.
Roger is here. I remove his guest, so just Roger. And
what is our total? 20?
I have you, Chris, and together with Michelle.
Yeah,
so
so
it's
technically that plus one is a member, not a guest.
right. So that's okay as long as number is.
Do you have
mentioned.
Kevin Booth on there?
Yes, I have Brian Booth, and he has 2 guests. So I assume it's Brian with Kevin and maybe significant other.
I think that's correct.
Right. So it's so far it's 20. all together. So,
Right? Okay.
right.
And
So,
I'd add a couple of, just for general purposes, I'd like four more if you like more.
okay.
I'll give him a call.
All right. So my next update is related to past SARCs, which took place in Whiteman Airport. That first day of SARCs was just ground, basically due to high winds. I didn't go because I was supposed to bring 743 Charlie Papa for exercises. I went on Sunday. I delivered the aircraft. Chris Younger joined me. He flew as an observer on relocation missions, and we had full day of sorties. Very very well planned. I would say it's probably out of 3 SARCs I participated, it was one of the most well organized. So there was no chaos. All the sorties were planned out, presented on the board. There were 3 officers in training who helped managing the whole event. I even didn't plan for it, but I actually got an opportunity to fly one sortie as a mission pilot trainee. I covered probably 75% of all the SQTRs required for me to become mission pilot. I still have plenty of hours to be qualified as a mission pilot, but I will be able to complete my training and prepare for the check ride once I have required hours. So for those pilots who at 250 PIC hours, that's a great opportunity to go for. So of course you have to get on board it as a VFR pilot first. Good idea to get checked out as orientation pilot for cadets. That's a great option to build time and start working on mission pilot tasks, which is not that difficult. If you're already a pilot with that many PIC hours, is quite straightforward. What you have to do basically, you would need to talk to Mike or Terry Pratt and set up time about maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours at most, and go over basically FEM and prep, the basics of what does it mean to be a mission pilot, what kind of tasks you have to do. You have to come prepared, read the guide for, that's right there on the table, and you can have a PDF copy of it, and work with your instructor, cover those topics, and get checked off. But you have to be checked off before you come to SARCs in order to actually fly a practical sortie. In a practical sortie, you are expected to plan it out. So basically identify an area where you're going to do the search, plan your entry, plan the pattern you're going to fly, be able to work with observer if you have one, entering the flight plan into the Garmin 1000 and on your iPad, and basically execute. Make sure you're actually helping, in some cases, an observer. In my case, it was an observer who was coming back. He was already qualified but need the recurrence training, so he was knowledgeable but a little bit rusty. So he was reasonably helpful during my flight. He controlled radio communications with the base. I controlled the radio communications with the ATC, and I happened to have a pilot who was checking my execution. So the whole sortie took roughly 1 hour, including the ground portion where you're basically punching a lot of waypoints into the GPS using coordinates, and that was a lot of fun. I think I liked it, and I was hoping to fly another one with Terry today, but I had to give myself a little bit more time to recover after the cold a couple of weeks ago, so I didn't go. Any questions on Sarex?
Do we have any plan coming up early in the year, January?
I didn't see any new exercises announced. The current one is still open. There are still funds available, but I believe it expires this month. I have to look back which particular date is the expiration. I will take a look in my emails. Basically, once Sarex is done, and as long as funds still unused, you can fly under that mission as a funded flight and complete specific tasks. That is applicable not only for pilots, it's applicable for mission scanner and mission observer. And I do encourage all the new pilots to onboard. You do have to be mission scanner anyway, but it's a little extra step to become an observer, and it gives you a lot of opportunities to actually fly in a right seat with an existing pilot on real missions. And those missions happen here and there. So at least there are typically up to 4 WADS missions where CAP flies with Air Force, training them on intercept of slow targets. And there will be one happening this Thursday. So there is plenty of opportunities to experience real CAP flying if you become at least a mission scanner, but go for mission observer too. And if you're already a pilot, becoming an observer is a real simple task. You operate radio, you just have an extra radio to work with. And a couple of extra steps controlling which one you are engaged on at each moment. So, yeah. There was a question for us if we are planning to have a Sarex on our base here at Riverside. I'll work with Mike and Terry, see if we have time and resources to plan one. Funds are available. We may get to do one.
It's a large task to plan one and staff it, but we have a really nice facility. We've run many Sarexes out of this base, so.
Yes. It's convenient location, it's central to the whole group, and neighboring groups are usually easy to join the Sarex at Riverside. So I think it's a worthwhile event, and it will directly benefit our squadron members.
And our group.
And our group too. All right. Any questions on Sarex? All right. I did not have any other topics to cover, but I think it would be great if we demonstrate the new scheduling system. Mike, would you like to do it, or I can put it on my screen? All right.
That was a great idea.
I will demonstrate the scheduling system, and I will also demonstrate the mobile app, which we use to find the check pilots and the what is it? SAT, SAT, STA, the person who is qualified to train on specific task. Okay, let me zoom in more. Okay, quick repeat. Let me share it on Teams because I will have Mario. Hello, Mario.
Hello, thank you.
All right. Hopefully you can see my screen. Quick update. So when you log into e-services, you need to tweak it a little bit to make it more user-friendly for yourself. So you need to create shortcuts to your favorite modules of the whole e-services system. And to do that, you click on this gearbox, and you go to favorite applications. Here you see all the modules grouped into categories. So the categories related to your tasks on hands include, for example, operations qualifications, WIMR's system access. From, let's see, online learning perspective, you would need to have a shortcut for learning management system. Once you get qualified, well, actually it's a good idea to have that available for safety information and reporting system and for the safety information system CAPSIS. So I think one of them is being phased out and the other one takes over. I keep forgetting which one is which. So I guess the one start is the newer one. CAP uniform manual. Well, Michelle, Chris, good job. You got yourself uniforms. You're fully ready to join real SAREX or any mission as a CAP member. So once you set it up, when you go to e-services, you will see all those shortcuts on this left side as under your favorite apps. And for scheduling, we are going to WIMR's. Don't remember the abbreviation. What does it mean? Information and resources something system, I believe, but WM I don't recall. Bob, do you remember what WIMR stand for? Here, first landing page you get is a list of active missions. So all the missions are present in the list, and you can search if you know what you're looking for. For example, onboarding. So you can just type onboarding and you will get the current onboarding mission. So this mission will be used for the new pilots after you have first self-funded flight with the CAP instructor. He will recommend you to continue onboarding, and then you'll start scheduling sorties under this mission. So what does it mean? So for you to schedule a sortie, you have to have access to resources. Resources would be the aircraft and the instructor pilot. To find an aircraft, you basically go to scheduling module. It's under support group on your left, right here. Well, I clicked it, I think. Yeah, I guess maybe it wasn't tested that well. Yeah, it doesn't click. Well, let's give it a moment. Yours works? Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, if I click on a mission, it works, but if I click on a scheduling module, it doesn't. May grab an iPad, maybe iPad works better. Okay, maintenance works, but scheduling doesn't. If I try to fool it, doesn't go. If it works here, I'll share the screen for my iPad. It works, just slow. There you go. Okay, so the scheduling module, the good place to start is with aircraft. So what you do, you go to update my preferences, and here you add all aircrafts of your interest to the list, and I can share with you this list. Essentially, these are all aircraft in the vicinity, whether it's it goes as far as basically all Los Angeles area, Orange County, San Diego County, and Inland Empire. So I believe I didn't miss any airplanes, but maybe some of them are not relevant. For example, this one was in our possession temporarily. It's a 206 with round dial panel. So I have no idea where that is now. I probably just need to remove it. But all other aircrafts, for example, 94800 is based at John Wayne. Easy access, actually super convenient. It's like red carpet service. You call the FBO and you just tell them I need the airplane by this time, and they literally pull it out in front of the FBO, and you see like super jets, super expensive jets being serviced at the same place, and you get water and nice service there. 809 Charlie Papa, I believe right now is it's a Santa Monica aircraft, if I'm not mistaken. 887 Charlie Papa is at Palm Springs, and of course 743 Charlie Papa is here at our hangar. So pick a few which makes sense to you, and you will see this aircraft on the calendar. The calendar kind of slow. Let's see if I click back button. Maybe it's my browser.
Was everything running slow?
Yeah.
Probably because we have to reset the router.
Okay. Let's do a checklist every meeting. We will reset the router before the meeting. So now we see the calendar, and today's date is highlighted in yellow, and some dates highlighted in red. I don't know why. Maybe some kind of scheduling conflicts available. And if I put mouse over that exclamation mark, it shows that there are some conflicts. So if I click, I actually see which aircrafts are scheduled. And let's see if we actually get the conflict clues. Anyway, so I don't see on this view any conflicts, but you basically have to look for each aircraft and the timeline and see what's going on there. But let's say tomorrow, 743 Charlie Papa is scheduled to be used from 8 in the morning to noon, and that's it. So you no, then it's scheduled from 4 onward up until 11 p.m. So that's probably maintenance. So let's take a look. So if we check under which mission it's booked, it's under 3003, and 3003 it's okay. So it's probably cadet rights, right? Yeah, no, annual pilot proficiency. So it's being used by another squadron at Hammett, I believe, for annual pilot proficiency, and it's being relocated back from Fullerton to Riverside. And you see who is the flying pilot. So any time the airplane is available, you can reserve it. How to reserve it? You basically click in desired date. So let's pick here 743 Charlie Papa is relatively available, it's booked from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. under California Miscellaneous, which is self-funded mission. So anytime before or after, you are free to book it. Don't modify somebody else's sortie. That's not nice. Unless it's a real search and rescue, for example, and you're a mission pilot, you may take over California Miscellaneous. A good idea is to call the scheduling pilot and tell them why you are taking their aircraft, and usually they will say, okay, sure, no problem.
What's the difference between California Miscellaneous and onboarded mission?
So California Miscellaneous is self-funded mission. You can reserve it to fly self-funded proficiency flight. So once you are onboarded VFR pilot, you can fly this mission. And we can go over after right now actually. Let's click on schedule, and you can pick a date and what time. It's a local time. So for example, I want to book an aircraft from let's say 11 through 13. That's minute 00, and for 2 hours. And I put mission California Miscellaneous. It will find it for me. So basically, currently active mission is California Miscellaneous for present fiscal year, and I can create a sortie. So if basically you can specify TBD if you don't know under which mission you're going to fly. That's a new feature Mike was talking about. Before this control, you had to have a real mission from the funded or self-funded mission list. So if you want to make a TBD, you can. Otherwise, if you know you're going to fly California Miscellaneous, you specify it there. And you are the pilot scheduling because you are the one who logged into the system. So you ask to create a sortie, and you specify which aircraft. So it shows the list of aircraft I selected under my profile. If you are interested only in G1000, 743 Charlie Papa 182, you make your own list and you have choice from this aircraft here. So I want to schedule 743 Charlie Papa, and I don't, yeah. And you add schedule. So if no conflicts established, you get this green pop-up, which is a good sign. Now, supposedly, you get your sortie right here. So this is a new one, and you can now go to this particular sortie. It goes to the mission, and under that mission to that sortie you have selected. So you have to select a mission symbol. How to get one? You click on this link, and pop-up opens, and you check. You basically have to specify what is the purpose of this flight. And let's say it's a pilot proficiency. For self-funded, you can fly pilot proficiency profiles established by the wing. There is a separate document published. I can actually point to it as well, which defines what that profile is about. So it could be simple takeoff and landings. It could be night proficiency. It could be transport mission pilot proficiency. You basically can fly to 3 airports from one airport to another, land to full stop at each airport, take off, and do as you wish. But in simple terms, it's explained what you're supposed to do under that proficiency profile. So if I want to do a proficiency profile, I select C12, which is proficiency flights not designated as an FM, Air Force funded missions. So that would be C12. I go here, select that, and it's supposed to populate that sortie. So here, apparently it didn't create a sortie number. Let's go back. So if I go under this mission, California Miscellaneous, go to sortie list. For the 9th. That's the wrong mission number. 3388. Didn't work as planned. So there is a bug for me to report now. There is a help desk. I will go and report the bug. So what I did, I created a sortie from the calendar view. Then I clicked on a link which was supposed to bring me to the sorted details, and it didn't. It got me someplace else. How to fix it? I go to Wimmers and go to current missions. I get back to that default screen once I land in Wimmers, and I search for miscellaneous. There is only one open mission for miscellaneous. Yeah, should have told me earlier. I'm not looking there, so I don't know if it's readable. All right. So you go to View, Edit Air Sorties. We are not interested in ground sorties unless you become some sort of ground mission qualified resource for CAP. And from here, I go to the 9th. And I'm supposed to see the sortie I created, which is from 11 to 13 on 743 Charlie Papa, and I click on Edit. Here I'm supposed to select that C12 symbol, and yes, it still doesn't look right. Okay, so yes, it's all good. Here I am at the right place. I have to select sortie type, and sortie type is one of those profiles you are going to fly. So there are 4 profiles defined by the wing for proficiency flying. I will find that document for you. It's under the library of all the documentation. I'll look into it later. But let's say I select profile A. And then you specify what is your plan. You specify departure airport, destination airport. So if you are doing local work, going to practice area, you just specify KRAL here and KRAL there. You can adjust the time as long as it doesn't step over existing schedules. The aircraft is already populated, but you can change it here. If, let's say, for whatever reason, let's say 743 Charlie Papa is not mission capable, for whatever reason, it's going to maintenance, you can replace it in a sortie to any other aircraft in any other airport. You would have to coordinate with other airport operations to make sure you have access to the airport, you have access to the hangar. The codes for aircraft log are the same as everywhere else. Good idea to plan ahead, contact the squadron commander or emergency services officer, and I'll show you how to identify those for different units, and just send them email, call them. They are super easy to work with, to the most part. At least so far, I didn't experience any negative issues talking to other people. And here you specify crew contact. It's your name. I typically put my name and my phone number. So if anyone wants to basically take priority over me, they would be able to call me directly or email me and coordinate changing my schedule. Do not request flight release officer until actually you are completed debriefing the sortie no more than 24 hours in advance. Briefing the sortie, sorry, before your actual flight, because at that point the flight release officer will probably reach out to you via email or call and review the briefing information for your flight, making sure that everything is in line, that all the risks are manageable and nothing is endangering you or other crew members for the flight. So for the crew, you specify yourself. So if I can put my name, because I already have flown California miscellaneous mission and I am in this drop-down box. For your first time, you will not see your name. So you scroll down to the bottom and you basically find yourself by your cap ID, so or by your last name. So let's say I want to sign in Arnold Beller. I search his name, and he's the only one in the whole roster of all CAP members, and you can sign him in. I am not doing that, so I go back, return to air sortie. If you have if you have any member flying with you as mission scanner or mission observer, you add them to that list of aircrew and specify for which position they are going to join you. That's actually one important aspect. While you're editing the sortie and you think you will need more time to complete it for whatever reason, click Save button or Update button. So for example, I selected Profile A, it didn't memorize it, so I didn't specify the airport, and I can copy paste. Anything else, like I put my name, my number, and I put myself as a pilot, and I specify position. So for example, I am currently active transport mission pilot. I can fly by myself for any proficiency flights under those profiles. And let's say if I can take any CAP member in flight with me, ideally mission observer for specific flights, especially if you are practicing certain tasks related to real world scenarios. And you click Update. If you know you want to fly the same configuration maybe the other day, you can copy sortie, and you just click the button, and it will ask you what part of the sortie you would like to duplicate for which date under same mission or different mission, and so on and so forth. So once you completed it, it's good like this up until at least 24 hours before your actual flight. At that point, you will need to brief it. So to brief sortie, you click the brief button and add more specific details on what you are trying to accomplish. So area of operations, if you are doing local, let's say you're just practicing touch and go, pattern work, whatever, you specify local. For base telephone, base call sign, base frequency, air ground frequency, air to air frequency, you specify NA, not applicable. Radio checks and contacts. You are once you select your flight release officer, he will advise you what time he would like to hear from you during this sortie, before and after. So typical for proficiency flight would be engine start and wheels down. So you specify engine start and wheels down. Other aircraft in area not applicable. Ground teams not applicable. Sortie objectives: practice pattern work, take off and landings, steep turns, whatever you are practicing, just outline here. Ideally follow the proficiency profile you selected from those 4 profiles listed on California Wing document. Sortie deliverables: completion of tasks per proficiency profile such and such. Actions to be taken: super simple: plan, execute, mitigate risks, the typical pilot tasks we perform. Route of flight: if it's local flight, you just specify local. If you are flying, let's say, multiple airports, let's say you want to go Riverside, Hammett, French Valley, you specify KRAL, KHMT, F70, and then return back to KRAL. Altitude assignments and restrictions as required would suffice. Basically, airspeed expected and restrictions as required. Aircraft separation, there is no such thing because you are flying alone in a single aircraft. You specify not applicable. Emergency alternate fields. So if you are doing a local practice in Lake Matthews area, your emergency fields could be March Air Force Base and Corona. So you can specify this as possible options. If you are flying specific route, then you basically list those airfields and your route of your flight. Military low altitude training routes would be not applicable for your local operations, so you put not applicable. Hazard to flight, typical, it could be VFR traffic, it could be practicing my proficiency at night, so it's a risk, right? So if you didn't fly for a while, so you mentioned that. You check at this point of time the weather conditions, so you basically specify VFR. If anything noticeable in weather forecast or present conditions, you can specify here. So maybe forecasted winds of specific strength and direction, and so on and so forth. For each of this, you outline conditions. Of course, if you are a VFR pilot and the conditions are IFR, it's no go automatically. So your flight release officer will not release your flight. Special instructions. So what you do, you specify how you mitigate your identified risks. So eyes on traffic, utilize flight following if you are flying multiple legs. If you're flying with an observer, you can specify cockpit resource management as a risk mitigation option. And unless you have specific notes for the crew, you put not applicable in this box. And don't forget click update. Once your briefing for sortie is completed, that's the good time you can actually select flight release officer. So for our squadron, Mike is a great resource, pretty much always available. Call Mike, check if he is open for being your flight release officer. If he is available, you basically pick him from the list, and he will review how you briefed the sortie, what is your ORM scenario. I will return to that, and he will release your flight. You are not authorized to fly unless you received the email confirming you have been released. The exception.
I just want to make a point that you don't have to pick me because
yes,
I'm in the squadron. You can pick anybody on that list.
You can pick anyone. If you know someone and you have good report, you can pick any flight release officer. Senior flight release officer has a little bit more authority for operations which have exceptions or higher risk. You can pick regular flight release officer from this list. That doesn't really matter much who you pick, right?
Yeah, there's a scoring the sequence 0 to 30 is a standard flight release officer. So if your ORM is 30 or less, you can do that. If it's over 30, then that's a senior flight release officer. Typically, that's only for IFR flight. If you're any VFR flight, you should be under 30, and you should be able to get a regular flight release officer for almost every VFR flight.
And, I will quickly give an overview what is ORM. ORM is the scoring system for identified risks and present conditions for your planned sortie. So here you're basically looking at this chart, and it's kind of questionnaire. So you basically go and answer all the questions one by one. So familiar, I have taken off, landed and taxied at all airports in the sortie planned at least once in the last year. So for Riverside, I'm very familiar with that environment. I specify familiar. If I'm flying, let's say I had a relocation mission for Whiteman Airport. I have flown with someone in as a passenger to that airport, but I haven't been a pilot in command flying to that airport for my first mission. I specified unfamiliar, but when I talked to my flight release officer, I explained how I prepared for flight to that airport. Time of the day, day, civil twilight, and night, etc. So night, if you are doing night currency, you specify night VFR rated pilot. You go and check the weather, you specify temperature. At CP, we have a lot of confusing mix and match measuring units. Sometimes it's Celsius in one area, it's Fahrenheit in another area. So good news, modern tools for weather checking give you both. So it's easy to do. Just make sure here you put it in Fahrenheit. So you put present or forecasted conditions here, dew point temperature, wind conditions, index of thermal stress. You specify basically depending on forecasted weather. If it's above 40 degrees, that's good. If it's below 40 degrees, you are increasing your risks. Departure and arrival weather, visual meteorological conditions, winds, maximum surface wind. So basically, if moderate winds, like flying back, we had in this range, so it was moderate, you specify that, and so on and so forth. If it's FM sortie, what is forecasted crosswinds in all points of landing, right? So if it's exceeding 15 knots, it's automatically no-go. So you can stop right here, don't file the ORM, you are done, reschedule it. Otherwise, you say no and continue. You calculate takeoff and landing. Well, again, if you are flying to an airfield with short landing strips, calculate your performance. Make sure you can actually handle it. If it's riverside, if the density altitude is not a factor, you don't really have to do it for your personal funded flight. Good idea if temperature is high and the conditions are questionable, take some effort, and I can show you how to do it with tools CAP gives us. Bird strike hazard low, unless there is an autumn indicating there is extreme bird activity, that would be low. En route conditions, flying locally, it's all VFR, it's none. Mountain flying, if you are flying mountains, then you analyze what are the winds in that terrain. Otherwise, here it would be not applicable. Your experience level, I am below 300 PIC, so this is my minimal experience grading. For you pick where you stand. PIC mission currency, so for me, I would select very familiar. I have flown this particular mission recently. If I have, let's say, fallen back for whatever reason on my currency, I would select appropriate rating, and so on and so forth. So once you basically complete this matrix, you click submit, and it calculates if your risks are low, moderate, or high. If it's moderate, then probably at that point it will be up to senior flight release officer to release it or not. If it's low, the regular flight release officer will be able to make a decision. So once you complete this mission and click submit, this window will stay open, but you will manually have to go back, and this link will change ORM low, or whatever the calculated risk based on the matrix. And at that point, you're actually ready to request flight release officer and get ready for your flight. Any questions so far? Okay.
Let me just say one thing. If anybody needs any help doing this, ever, just go ahead and give me a call and I'll walk you through it. Yes. If you have a PC, I can actually link to your PC with Microsoft Quick Assist, and I can walk you through it and show you how and explain things over the phone. And once you do it once or twice, it's really easy. It just looks like it's complicated, but it's not. So
I know we're at 8 o'clock, so I'd like to show you the mobile app real quick. Let's see if I have it here. I definitely have it on my phone. I'll connect from here. Mario, I will stop sharing the screen and I will project on TV. But let's see. All right. So I can distribute, actually on our teams, we have detailed instructions published how to add the link to PRMA app. So once you do it, it will appear just like an app on your screen. So in my case, I keep aviation related apps in one place. When you click on it, it will ask you for username and password. This is your CAP email. Same email you use to get your mail for CAP is used to access PRMA app. So in my case, I have it saved on Apple. So here you select the wing. We are in California, so you select that. What useful information we have? We have aircraft information, so you can quickly check before even you schedule your sortie if aircraft is mission capable. So these are all California wing aircraft. So you really need to know which aircraft are in the area accessible to you. So for example, 743 Charlie Papa shows in yellow right here. It means partially mission capable. So you see aircraft status, the maintenance is deferred, mission status partial mission capable, no flight restrictions, where it's presently located at Riverside, and present takt time. So plentiful of useful information. Here is our flight maintenance officer, Lon. So you can call him and check on specific restrictions if those restrictions may potentially affect your mission. And if you can't reach Lon, you can reach out to Mike and he will help you probably even faster than Lon. What else here? We have check pilots. Very important for all of you who come and would like to become VFR and eventually transport mission pilots. You basically go to the group 3. You can also look for group 7, look for group 1, whatever is in your vicinity. Well, I know group 7 is basically Orange County and I believe Long Beach area. Group 1 is where is Whiteman? Just Whiteman?
It's the LA area.
Okay, so it's North LA area, right? So this will be your primary options, I would assume. So group 7 and group 3 and maybe group 1. So let's say group 3. So here we have different types of instructor pilots. So you are interested in, let's say, instructor pilot with Garmin 1000 experience, and it gives you the list of qualified pilots. So you can fly with Trent Ferris, super easy to access. You can fly with Shane. Shane is a Delta airline pilot, so whenever he's not flying for Delta, he is eager to fly CAP. So I have flown with both, with Trent and with Shane. Highly recommend. Super easy. If for any reason maybe Santa Monica is a good option for you, Robin Kim is easily accessible in Santa Monica or maybe even from Fullerton. So there is aircraft in both airports, Garmin 1000, 182. You can go for those options. If you are not so keen on going straight to Garmin 1000, you may look into John Wayne based aircraft. It's Garmin 500 with round dial, and you can find from group 7 some of the pilots. So for example, let's see, just instructor pilot. Okay, so Ryan Ferris is Trent's son. Kind of hard to get a hold of. I couldn't, no matter how many times I tried. Wind, Brad Wind, easily available. He is actually instructed at John Wayne. So Scott Dynin is another great option. Very easy to work with. David Park, I know him. While I was with Squadron 68, knowledgeable guy, but limited availability as far as I can tell. Jeffrey Bendgen, he is also pretty easy to work with. So pick. You don't have to stick with one instructor if for any reason it doesn't click, you don't work well with each other, pick another instructor. But remember, these are two main resources you need: an instructor pilot being available, and aircraft being available. And it's your job to get these two pieces of a puzzle together. Nobody will work for you to get this done. Get yourself oriented on this task, and it's easy. Right now funding is available, aircraft is available, go for it. Get it done and start flying. Let's see what else is interesting here. Set list. Okay, so maybe by rating, right? So you can see who can help you on specific emergency services rating. So mission scanner, right? So let's find mission scanner. Mission scanner is your first one. And these are all the people who can actually qualify you for specific tasks related to mission scanner. And if you look at the list, actually it's easier to do it by unit. In our squadron, we have enough sets to get most of your tasks done. So let me show you by unit under group 3, Riverside Squadron. We have Mike, Terry Pratt, Lon. I have never had an opportunity to meet Roy Knight, but he is based at Fallbrook, I believe. So between Mike, Terry, and Lon, you can cover your mission scanner, you can cover your mission observer, mission pilot, mountain flying, get a lot of things done. On communications, Mike can work with you. So basically anything SAR related, we can handle in-house. And one more useful item, a couple more useful items you will need from PCR mobile app. After every sortie, which is funded sortie, you have to submit Form 14, basically expense report. You have to refill the aircraft to the mission ready status. So for our aircraft, it's 52 gallons, right? So you buy fuel to the level of 52 gallons when you finish flying. And if it's self-funded flight, you don't submit expense form, you just refill the aircraft. But if it's a funded sortie, you have to buy the fuel on the national credit card, which is in the aircraft at all times. Get the receipt, take a picture of it, fill out this form. It's pretty straightforward. Just usually I do it right on the spot. I snap a picture of a receipt. I come home, I fill out this form, submit it. It comes straight to my email as a PDF, and I attach it to the debrief section of the sortie which I just have flown. Other elements which are relevant for specific scenarios, like calculations of takeoff and landing. You select the aircraft, so let's say 743 Charlie Papa. You specify your calculated takeoff weight from your weight and balance calculations. Let's say 3100, right? That's maximum weight. And pick the airport. You can actually type it, and specify the temperature in Celsius now. So let's say 14, and the baro, let's say 98, and it will calculate the takeoff and landing for you. So basically, it does the calculations for all active runways. So you just take a snapshot and attach it to your sortie in Wimmers, and that's it, along with your weight and balance calculations. And weight and balance you all use for flight, I assume, or any other suitable app. You can create a profile for weight and balance there, upload it to Wimmers based on actual configuration you are going to fly. Any questions? All right. Well, again, if you come across the questions, reach out to me, Mike, Terry, Chris. We will be more than ready to help you. I live not far from here. I can just drive here. Mike can drive here and walk through certain steps with you together.
Should I specify instructor in sortie when I book?
Yes, when you book a sortie, you put yourself as a PAC, right? Trainee PAC, but still you are the first one. Then you specify the instructor. If instructor is not checked in, you find the cap ID for the instructor here and check them into the sortie and select them from the list after that. And specify that that instructor is your instructor pilot. Okay. Good. Questions, comments? Thank you very much. Appreciate your time and attention. The meeting is over. Mario, have a good night.